and 1230 AM WXCO.
And good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show. And man, Coach, you can't be pounding on your microphone when we're on the air like that. I mean, that's a very un-radio-like thing.
It's only week 11. I haven't quite figured it all out yet.
Hey, Jason Foster, Chad Holmes with you here for week number 11 of the Big High School Sports Show. Normally, we don't have any of our guests at the top of the show, but tonight we are making an exception. It's a very good reason for the exception because we're very happy to welcome at the top of the show the head football coach at Edgar High School, Jerry Sinz. And first of all, Coach, I know that you're teaching religious education tonight, and we're very happy to have you for a few minutes.
Thank you very much. Good to be on.
Terrific. And, of course, you got a big game coming up against Regis on Friday, but let's take a step back. Talk about your season. We had earlier to this campaign your outstanding senior Carter Butt on the program, learned a little bit about your team, but from a coaching perspective, obviously you've won 9 games in a row. It's been an outstanding season, winning a conference championship. How would you take, looking back at this point with still work to do at what your team has been able to accomplish so far this year?
Yeah, we got off to a slow start for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I still haven't really figured that out. I guess turnovers were a big part of it. For some reason, field position was not good. We played Ellsworth. They were, they're a Division IV team. They were okay, but we played Baldwin Woodville for 3-4 years in a row. They're in the same conference, but the same size school, and played much better. And, we ran for a lot of yards. I think in that game, Carter had 190-something yards rushing. I think we ran for about 260, 340, 50 yards, and we only scored 6 points, which is highly uncharacteristic of us. Our special teams were not special that night, and theirs were. Guys that punt 45 yards and get it to roll out at 2 and things like this, but I think maybe it was kind of a wake-up call because after that, we played awfully well. We've outscored our opponents since then, somewhere in the vicinity of about 350 to 6.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing season there, Coach. You talked about how many yards Carter rushed for in that first game, and then to follow it up the next week with the Stratford game, and what a great showing and a great win that was, and then kind of put you in motion. And then as we look at your stats and your game summaries for week to week, and some of those guys get backed off a little bit as you play some of that other competition, get up early and big in those games. What role does that play as you are in the playoffs now, and knowing that Carter is such a phenomenal athlete, as are a lot of the other guys, but that maybe they didn't get as much pounding during the regular season, maybe playing first half or third quarter? Does that help going into the playoffs, knowing those guys are healthy and more well-rested?
Well, I certainly hope so. It's something we've done for years and years and years. Many times our best players are very limited, especially on offense, through the first, 9 games, just because we want to keep them fresh. A lot of times our top ball carrier might not even have 100 carries in our first 9 games. This year, of course, we started out with a tough team. Well, 2 tough teams, obviously, Ellsworth and Stratford. So he ended up carrying quite a few times the first 2 games, but then he had numerous games when he carried 5-6 times, and once again, that was pretty much by design to keep him rested because he does play defense too. We played Colby. He had a few more again. And then, of course, we kind of backed him off again in some of those other games. But I told him, well, yeah, it looks like it's going to be muddy tomorrow, and obviously it's Regis. So, yeah, I'd be ready to carry 25 times again. And he just smiled, so I think he's ready.
Coach, what did you find out in that game against Stratford in week 2? You said it was probably a frustrating night in week 1, and maybe I will piggyback that as well against Colby, because obviously Colby a year ago had defeated your team, and you were able to do a great job over there this year. Those 2 games this season, what did you learn about your teams, number 1 in week 2, and then especially I think as well for that big conference game against Colby?
Well, week 2, everything that went wrong for us in week 1 went wrong for Stratford. And of course, all those things went right for us. Punting, kicking, punt returns, kickoff returns, turnovers. Stratford, they had a rough night, and I'm just thinking to myself, this is what we did a week ago. And it makes it tough to win. And, I told Coach Tubbs after the game, I said, our teams are probably pretty equal. And it's definitely, the game ended up 40-6, but it's not like we're really 40-6 better than them. It's just the way the game ended. But I think it gave our kids confidence that, we thought we were going to be pretty good. After the first week, we didn't know if we were going to be good or not. But then after the Stratford game, all right. They started playing with more confidence. And, of course, then we had to go over to Colby also in about week 5, and they were undefeated. And we played a pretty good game there, too. We had a little bit of a spell in the third quarter where I thought we didn't play too good, maybe turned the ball over or whatever, but then got it going again in the fourth. I think we were up 21-0 or 20-0 at halftime. And we played a lot of undefeated teams right in a row then. The next week we played Abbey, and they were undefeated. A week or two later we played Auburndale, and they were 7-0. They were undefeated. And so we played a bunch of undefeated teams in the middle of the season and rated teams and managed to shut them all out, which shocked me. I really didn't think that would happen. We actually were playing better defense, and I really thought, we might be able to play. So that's really helped us out, too.
Again, we're talking to head coach Jerry Sinz of the Edgar Wildcats here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
Coach, I want to follow up on that last statement about your defense. I'm actually a big love defense, and I've listened to you talk several times, and I know where you guys are at, not only this year defensively, but where you are over the span of your incredible career defensively. What makes your defense so special? Obviously, year in and year out, but what's special about this? Who are the key players on your defense this year?
Well, actually, we, after our final game a year ago against Regis in third level of the playoffs, when we just kind of got trampled to death, we thought, well, maybe, when I started coaching up, we were a 44 team all the way through, and once in a while we'd even go to a 62. Well, then as the years went by and teams are passing more, we went to some 43 and some 44. Well, then there were some years that we thought it might be beneficial to play a nose, and we had a kid that was a pretty good nose, so we'd play a shifted, 43 or 44. But this year we went down and talked to the guy from Columbus, and we put in a 34, simply because we thought we had a lot of athletic guys that could play in space pretty well. And we didn't know for sure how many linemen we had. Well, of course, we found out we had more good linemen maybe than we thought because they've been playing pretty well. But we've been mixing up the 34 and the 43 pretty regularly this year, and we'll even, roll up into a 44 periodically. And we play them interchangeably throughout the game. We kind of let Carter call it as he sees fit. And for some reason, it seems to be working pretty well. I think
who are
half
frankly
the time when we're in
not very nice to Jews in their personal life, are not actively pursuing liberation for their Jewish constituents here in America, are not really interested in our safety. Why are those same people who have no horse in the race, no skin in the game,
our
for those points,
are actually getting more points than we thought they would?
Why? Okay, I'll tell you why. I will tell you why, and this is the genuine answer. And it's horrifying to me how few people know how much of these political decisions are being made on the basis of prophecies that, frankly, many practitioners of these
What
religions,
about this week? You mentioned the fact that your season ended a year ago against an outstanding
Islam,
Regis team over in Eau Claire, but this time around, you get them to come to Edgar this Friday night. Obviously, the natural turf is being hit by a lot of rain this week. As you look number one at Regis and the game on Friday night, what are you looking for against the Ramblers? What is your team going to have to do?
Legislation. Here is what I mean by that.
Well, they're doing the same,
to talk about Israel in a biblical way, to talk about this place we are talking about in current events as a place that has had current events for every day that there have been humans there,
I think it was 17
we have
seniors,
to talk about the idea
juniors,
of Israel as a concept. Israel as an abstract idea in the eyes and minds of many people for hundreds of years. We have to talk about the fact that in Torah, right, it says, hey, at one point God tells Abraham that Abraham gets all these lands.
And they wore us down.
And by these lands, we mean Israel. And by Abraham, we mean Jews because, in theory, Abraham is their patriarch, right? All of us are supposed to be, in this way, connected back to him. Now, let me interject myself here. I'm a religious Jew.
This year's like 25 to 24.
I don't feel the need to subscribe. I know for a fact because I'm a convert, in fact, that I am not biologically related to Abraham or any of these folks. They sound great. I think they're cool people to follow. But when we get to these prophetic parts, there are individuals currently elected, not elected, but just, our American citizens who believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that the statements in the Bible, in Torah, are not just a story that we can learn from to inform our own decisions in life, but rather that they are completely
Coach,
accurate,
we got about 2 minutes left with Coach Sinz. Final question for Coach Jerry Sinz.
They are literalizing
on that
one
the story,
a little bit, Coach,
right?
You said you know what you're going to get from them. They're going to come and run the same offense. You guys have such a long tradition of playing each other in the playoffs and had some incredible matchups. Might your little bit defensive wrinkle that you've added this year help with that matchup as well? And do you just bring what you do on offense and try to do the best you can, or do you add some wrinkles offensively as well?
And that all current Jews on earth are also the same very Jews who are spoken of as being Abraham's descendants. And this gets even more complicated when the people talking about it aren't even Jews. What part do evangelicals play in it? Let me tell you as we come up to the break. Part of evangelical Christian prophecy is the belief that in order for the second coming of Jesus Christ to begin, all Jews have to be back in Israel. It's not up to us. It's not up to me. It doesn't really matter in their eyes whether or not I want to keep living here in Milwaukee or move somewhere else. No. It's time for the second coming. So you all have to get back to where you're supposed to be. And what's horrifyingly inappropriate is that some of these legislators are attempting to enact that prophecy through legislation. And I'm going to talk to you more about it when we get back from the break. Taking you to the break is the very same song you heard at the beginning, Hams in a Glass by Winona Fighter.
Usually they were eyes bigger than us, but no, this year we're a little bigger than they are.
Coach, we have come up on a hard break, and I know you have to get to work as well with your teaching, but good luck on Friday against Regis, and thanks for coming on the program tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Good luck on Friday, Coach.
That's Coach Jerry Sinz.
Bull Falls Radio, WXCO. Love your hometown? Don't miss the Devil's Advocates radio show on the road for the very first Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023.
Rudy's doing DC, baby. The rest of the week I'll be there. I got some big guests lined up.
And you'll have to tune in for those very special guests live from Washington, D.C. this Wednesday and Thursday. Catch the broadcast starting at 4.
Road trip with the Devil's Advocates Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023 on your local Civic Media radio station and the app.
Why are interscholastic sports called the last classroom of the day? Because they teach students important life lessons like teamwork, accountability, and perseverance. School sports are so much more than a game. They're about developing the whole person. That's why they're an essential part of every student's education.
Encourage your student to participate in the last classroom of the day. Interscholastic sports in Wisconsin. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
This is Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Going to kind of reset things because we got thrown right into the deep end with the Hall of Fame coach Jerry Sinz of the Edgar Wildcats to start off the program. Just to let you know what to expect the rest of the show, we'll be recapping Level 1 playoffs from last week, looking ahead to Level 2, and our student-athlete guests coming up at our normal time at 7:05 this evening from the Mosine Indians, heading to a Level 2 matchup coming up on Friday night. We'll talk to their outstanding running back and linebacker, Wyatt Harris. That's coming up at 7:05 here on the program. And again, great to even though we would have loved to have had a few more minutes, but Coach Sinz teaches religious education on Wednesday night, so he is taking care of that, and very happy to have him on board. And in fact, one of the biggest games, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on, coming up this week, not just here, but throughout the state of Wisconsin. A lot of people are keeping an eye on that Regis Edgar game.
You're hearing some dead air today. Just know that about
like Coach 10
said, to 15
usually
very
it happens a
anxious
little further down the
engineers
road
and
in the
producers
playoffs.
throughout
A little
the
bit
state
different in that
are
regard.
doing what we
Coach loves
can
that
for
it's at
you.
home,
Don't
I think
worry.
to me the best
and
part
if you
of
miss
that
anything,
is
hey, it'll
Coach
be
is a
on
legend.
Spotify. It'll be on
I'm
our
talking
app.
about people in this
That
area.
is
You
the
talk about the
beauty
Everest,
of the
the
internet,
Marshfields,
folks. You can always
Edgars,
come back
the
to it. I
Stratfords,
understand
and all of those
how annoying it
things,
is. Believe me, it's
the
even more annoying on
crazy
my
thing
end.
about
I'm the
all
one who has
of
to
those
answer
is
the messages
Jerry
about
was
it.
there
But
when all of those
I
great
promise
things were
you,
happening,
we've
and
not
some of these other
abandoned
coaches
you.
have retired, even
Wisconsin,
passed on.
we are here for you.
And here
So,
he goes.
anyway,
600
like I was saying,
wins in 40
why is
plus
Derek
years
Van Orden in
and
Israel?
he's
Why
still
is
doing it,
anyone
not just in our
that is
area,
like
but the
Derek
state of
Van Orden,
Wisconsin.
that is to
Absolute
say,
legend
not
and great
involved
of him to
in
be with
Israel
us
right
tonight.
now?
Always fun to
Great
talk to
question.
Absolutely.
It
Well,
is
let's
because,
jump
as I
in
was
and talk
saying
about
before the
last
break,
week.
this
Level 1
belief,
playoffs,
this
a number
idea,
of teams
this
around central Wisconsin
ingrained
were
concept
involved
in
in.
the
We're going to
eyes
find out
of,
here in the
and
next
minds,
couple of
more
weeks
so,
as we wrap
of
up the
many
fall.
American evangelicals
We'll have
and
fewer
of
games to talk
evangelicals
about, but
outside
quite a
of the
few to
US
talk
as well.
about from
The
last
idea
week in Level 1.
that in
Starting
order to
off
usher
in
in the
Division
second
1,
coming of
a game
Jesus
that
Christ,
you were at, a game that
all
I was
Jewish
at, a game that we
people
had
have
live
to
right
get
here on
back
Bull
into
Falls
Israel.
Radio, 98.9 and
Why?
1230. And
Great
it
question.
was everything
Let's
that a
do some
playoff
Bible
game would
study,
be.
which
I
is
mean, you
maybe my
talk
least
about
favorite thing to say,
great
because every time I
atmosphere,
say
a
it to
beautiful
someone,
night
they're
for
like,
football,
no, please.
and in the end, a
I
one-point
did
game. And
CCD
unfortunately,
already. I'm like,
I
don't
think
worry,
for
this
both
is
of
the
us who
Jewish
follow
version.
Wausau
It's
West,
the version
and
where
you
you're
who get a
allowed to ask
paycheck from
questions.
Wausau
It's
West
quite
each and every
So
couple of
let's back
weeks,
up,
the
okay?
Warriors fell to
You've
the
got
Stevens Point
Abraham.
Panthers,
He's in Torah.
32-31.
He's extremely old.
Stevens Point
When he's
improves to
extremely
9-1.
old, he finally
Warriors
has a
finished up
son.
at 7-3.
There is an idea
It was Wausau West who led
that
most of the game. It was a
starting with
scoreless first
Abraham,
first
there is
quarter.
an
The Warriors led
unbroken genetic
17-7
line
at halftime.
through his son
Then
Isaac,
a long
through,
touchdown run
all these other guys,
by
right?
Jackson
Down
to go
Jacob, down
early
Joseph.
in the
Now
third
we're in
quarter,
Egypt.
gave
Now we're
the
slaves.
Warriors
Now we're
a
out of Egypt. Now we're back in
24-7 lead.
Israel, okay? That whole
Stevens Point made a
time,
bit of a comeback,
there is
scored
one
twice. The Warriors then
unbroken
put it back to
genetic chain from
31-19
Abraham
early in the fourth,
that
and then
eventually
two more
reaches
scores by Stevens
Mary.
Point in the fourth
You know,
quarter. Stevens Point scored a
Mary
game-winning
of
touchdown with just
Mother of God
1:25
fame.
left in the game.
And then, of course,
Warriors got
she
the ball
has
to the
who?
Stevens
You know,
Point 49,
Jesus.
but could not get any closer
there's
in the
this
final
belief
minute. Grant
that there
Schottenau
is
was
an
terrific
unbroken
at
genetic
quarterback for
line that
Spash,
extends
19
from
of 28,
Abraham
283 yards
Okay,
and
why
3
does that
touchdowns.
matter? It doesn't
Amon
if you don't care
Kunapaki,
about
boy,
this
that
stuff,
wide
but here's the
receiver,
thing.
he's
You're
probably had the
elected
game of his
officials
life.
who are
8
making
catches,
choices and flying out to
163
Israel
yards, 2
instead of taking
touchdowns.
votes.
Braylon
They do
Smola
believe in
was
it,
Braylon
and they're
Smola.
making
He
choices
got a lot of
about
tough
it.
yards,
So if you
25
don't
rushes,
care and this
98
is
yards and a
super annoying,
touchdown.
I get
Added
it.
3
I'm the
catches,
one who has to
47 yards,
research it.
and the game-winning touchdown.
But you
Jack
kind of have to know,
Ostrowski had
we're
191 yards
approaching
passing for
perhaps
West.
now,
Carter
if not
Amerson had a big
30
night for the
years ago,
Warriors.
if not
6
50
catches,
years ago,
114
if not
yards. A
6,000
beautiful
years
catch
ago,
in the
a point
end
where it
zone
really
for a
doesn't
touchdown
matter
as well
if
to
this
give
is
the
your
Warriors the
religion or
lead.
not, if
Bennett
you care
Matson,
about it
4
or not,
catches,
if
71
you wanna
yards.
spend your
Jackson
time
to go
researching it or
in
not.
place
The
again of the
people
injured
who
Ray
are
Reinick, who gave
in
it a go,
power right now,
but again left the game with an
elected or
ankle
otherwise,
injury in the second half, and the
believe
go
in
had
it.
over 100 yards as well. A lot to kind of delve into. It was quite a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think this was the matchup that people expected in round one, and for whatever reason, kind of like Coach Sinz was talking about in the Ellsworth game for them and the Stratford game for Stratford when they played Edgar. That's what happened in the West Spash in round one. It was a great game, very entertaining, a lot of back and forth. I think the difference in the game was Konopacki.
Yeah,
that's my
Konopacki.
first shot. Shot at the year. He was unstoppable. Definitely some things maybe could have done differently to slow him down a little bit, but at the end of the day, he was the best athlete on the field, and they recognized that. They liked their matchup, and they went to it, and he was the difference maker. And when it comes to Smola, I thought Smola ran the ball okay, but I don't think it was devastating. I think what hurt the Warriors more than anything was his catching. Their screen game gave West fits all night, including on that game-winning drive. That's really how they marched the ball down the field. And West came back and I think proved to themselves that that was definitely the best game they had played since losing Ray and Bryce earlier in the year, and obviously heartbreaker to lose like that. But all in all, a nice season for the Warriors, and congratulations, Spash, moving on.
And gutty for Ray Reinick. He had not played since the Stevens Point game early on. He gave it a go. I was at practice a couple of times last week. He was still limping. He was definitely nowhere close to 100%. Nearly broke one early on. He ran into one of his own blockers, or also he may have gone the distance. Then, unfortunately, in the second half, again, appeared to hurt his ankle. But, again, I just thought it was a real gutsy performance by Reinick.
I thought it was a gutsy performance by Ray, and I think just his presence in full uniform had an impact on the rest of the team as well. I think it gave them a boost. I think it gave them some confidence, and I think they played with a little more swagger like they did earlier in the year. I think my final 2 cents on this one is how disappointing, quite honestly, that the way the computer scheduled this bracket. I thought it was really too bad that West and Spash played each other round one, Appleton North and Kimberly played each other round one, and Hudson and Chi High played each other. So 6 of the 8 teams all played each other, and then you have a De Pere team that was an 8 seed that West beat 35-7 during the season, goes down and plays a 1 seed and wins 59-0 or whatever it is. It just seems like there's got to maybe be a better way to balance these all out in this division. And it's hard. Division 1 in this part of the state is hard because you're taken from East, West, and Central.
DC Everest had a rough go of it at Neenah. Neenah 54, Evergreens 28. Neenah 8-2, Everest 7-3. Ashton Van Beek 9 of 10, 146 yards passing. Grant Dean 15 carries, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns, 278 yards on 35 attempts for Neenah, 7.9 yards per carry, and then 2 interception returns for touchdowns within 1 minute of the third quarter broke it open. Logan George was asked to put a lot on his shoulders. Threw it 42 times, 20 of 42, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 4 picks. Xavier Edwards had 6 catches, 107 yards to score. Pearson McDonald, 5 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown, and the Evergreens just could not run it. 48 yards on 23 attempts.
Yeah, I think this is a good Neenah team. I
think
that's what DC Everest found out when they went over there. I was talking to Coach Mike Matthews, our athletic director today, who was at the game last week, and he said it was classic Neenah football. 1, they're a good football team. 2, another one of Coach Young's sons was one of the best players, and much like what happened to the Warriors a few years ago at home in a playoff game, their best players, their quarterback and their running back, were also their best players on defense and just kind of took the game over. And he said our 2 best running backs were on the sidelines in knee braces, and their best players on both sides of the ball kind of took them apart.
And when you're forced to throw it that much against a good defense, mistakes happen. I think, when you're behind and you ask Logan George, he's got to make plays. He made some plays, but unfortunately the interceptions are really tough to overcome.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's how misleading stats are in the NFL for quarterbacks. Oftentimes the leading quarterbacks are on teams who are playing from behind the whole game. So a lot of attempts, a lot of completions, a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of losses as well.
We have to take another timeout, take a news break here at the bottom of the hour, then come back. We'll continue to recap Level 1 action in high school football, Division 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 8-player, and then come back as well at 7:06 with our student-athlete guest, Wyatt Harris from Mosine. He's Jason Foster. I'm Chad Holmes. More of the Big High School Sports Show coming up on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
You're listening to Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
CBS News Brief. The House is getting straight to work after electing new Speaker Mike Johnson.
The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done.
Johnson's a staunch conservative from Louisiana. He replaces Kevin McCarthy. The U.S. says Israel's holding off on its ground invasion of Gaza. CBS's Tina Kraus.
U.S. officials tell CBS News Israel has delayed its ground invasion into Gaza, possibly to allow more time for negotiations to free the hostages.
Former President Trump's attorneys hope Michael Cohen's latest testimony in New York could get his fraud case scrapped.
He stormed out because they wanted to make a motion. To dismiss the case, to which the judge responded Yeah, absolutely not.
The judge also fined Trump $10,000 for violating a gag order for attacking a clerk. CBS News Brief. I'm Monica Ricks.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. At least 17 people have died on Wisconsin dairy farms since 2009, but only 8 of those deaths were investigated by federal workplace safety agents. That's according to an investigation by the nonprofit newsroom ProPublica. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration is the federal agency responsible for workplace safety, but OSHA is banned from enforcing safety laws on many farms with fewer than 11 workers. Another day, another cyber attack in Wisconsin. This time, the Rock County Administrative Offices in Janesville says it was hit. The county's administrator says a criminal actor hacked the county's network database, encrypted some files, and demanded almost $2 million to put everything back the way it was. The headquarters of Quick Trip and American Family Insurance were also recently hacked. I'm Terry Bell. This is Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
Timeout. All right. Remember, we're a team that plays together. Listen, the winning will take care of itself. We just have to get everyone involved.
In interscholastic sports, we celebrate what makes every one of us unique. And in the pursuit of a common goal, everyone in the huddle, in the bleachers, and in the community comes together. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Here's your Bull Falls radio forecast. Chance for scattered showers tonight, otherwise overcast. Lows dip down to about 51. East winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely tomorrow, high of 60. Scattered thunderstorms likely tomorrow night, lows around 49. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Right now, 54.
People won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
From the Wisconsin River to Rib Mountain, you're listening to Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM WXCO.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. With Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes, continuing to go down the line in terms of Level 1 high school football playoff action from last week. Turning to Division II, a couple of Valley Football Association teams involved, and both saw their seasons come to an end. New Richmond, for the second time this year, rolls past Marshfield, 39-22. New Richmond 9-1. Marshfield finishes 4-6. Miles Burke, 20 rushes, 266 yards, and 2 scores for New Richmond, and they pounded it. 411 yards rushing on 47 attempts, 8.7 yards per carry. And for the game, New Richmond outgained Marshfield 522-221. Adam Gilbertson, 139 yards passing, a touchdown for Marshfield. Brooks Hinson, 9 catches, 126 yards and a score. Braden Anderson, 86 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. But pretty obvious, it was a pretty dominating performance for New Richmond. And Marshfield, again, never felt like they really got it going this year.
No, I was just going to say, it's. I would say this score in this game was pretty indicative of who Marshfield was. It's kind of how they played out in the conference. It's kind of similar to the way this game played out. Actually, not quite as close as the first time, but I think Marshfield's extremely limited offensively, and it showed. And their ability to stop the run, much like it was against the Warriors, was rough.
And another game that I think was sort of indicative of the season was for Hortonville, because Hortonville's defense has always been what they've been hanging their hat on, but they just have not been able to do it offensively, and then turnovers late in the season really bit them. And Cedarburg beat Hortonville 20-9 in Cedarburg on Friday night, but Cedarburg 7-3, Hortonville 5-5, but Hortonville had a chance to win this football game. Cedarburg had a 13-7 lead with 1 minute left in the third quarter. 2nd and goal from the 2 for Hortonville, and a pick. Spencer Sturm picked it off, returned it 99 yards for the touchdown. So Hortonville's defense did the job. They held Cedarburg to 218 yards of total offense. We've seen them. I mean, we've seen the scores. We saw them in person a few weeks back. That was a defense that was capable of going a long way, but they just never were able to get the offense to get to a level to really help the defense.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Hortonville isn't that big, and when you have that many athletes who are able to do what they do on defense, it's surprising they don't find a way to utilize, because they're not just all a bunch of big, strong guys who could not help you from a skill sense on offense, and they just don't do it. And usually they've kind of lived and died by the pass, and wasn't there this year.
No, absolutely. So when you look at the VFA, you had the 5 playoff teams, and the only one that advanced was in the matchup. So Stevens Point is the last one standing for the Valley Football Association. I think, again, despite the loss, Wausau West, you can say, had a good year. Obviously, I think the injuries hurt late. And I think disappointing for Hortonville, Marshfield. I think for DC Everest, it was a step forward. So kind of, I think, 3 tiers for those playoff teams from the VFA as they kind of look at their 2023 season.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you're right. I think Everest took a step forward this year, especially the way they played down the stretch. I think they had some of their easier games other than Spash built in earlier to their schedule and weren't tested for a few weeks. And then when they were tested late in the conference schedule, they had some big wins. And I think they definitely can build off that heading into the offseason.
Division 3, Medford defeats Hayward, a battle of great Northern Conference teams. Medford 41, Hayward 3. Medford advances, now 8-2. Hayward ends their season 5-5. Keegan Walsh was 23 of 32, 232 yards for Hayward. Good numbers, but we weren't able to put up many points. Gannon Moore, 9 catches, 116 yards for Hayward. Just 4 yards rushing for Hayward as the team did not get any numbers from Medford. You thought Medford Raiders would like to put out those big rushing numbers, but don't know exactly. But obviously they did the job. And again, for Medford, I think when you look at the brackets, you're happy to face another team from the GNC in the first round, and often that is the case. And not as often this year, but this year Medford got the opportunity, and for the second time beats Hayward this season, and now Hayward will bid adieu to a Medford in the GNC.
Yeah, and they're probably not sad about that.
Probably not.
And I would say not only is this game indicative to how this matchup went in the season, but it's also kind of indicative to where the GNC was at this year. It was kind of 2 schools were the haves and everyone else was the have-nots, but by beating each other and getting those wins, some teams made the playoffs. Like the fact that Hayward's a 5-5 football team is probably overstates what they are, what they were this year.
We're going to talk about 2 other 5-5 football teams that may be in the same boat when you're talking about that. First, Rhinelander. The Rhinelander Hodags 5-5 finish after having a rough go of it in Onalaska last week, 56-6. Hilltoppers with the win, they're 7-3. Rhinelander 5-5. Onalaska QBs combined to go 14 of 18 for 252 yards and 5 touchdowns. Landon Bates had 9 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown for Rhinelander. It's always interesting when you see teams, and we've seen a number of the teams where they start off really well and then they kind of have rough goes of it. I think Rhinelander's one. We'll be talking about Wyowega Fremont as well. How do you judge seasons like that where you get off to such a good start like Rhinelander did, and boy, they just really struggled coming down the stretch?
I think part of it is schedule, kind of like we've talked about so often this year with CWC large and small, and in the Great Northern as well. But I look at this game and I say Onalaska is kind of one of the marsh fields of the South. They're pretty solid in just about everything, and I think the score of this game kind of speaks to probably their depth and their athleticism compared to Rhinelander. I would say as a program, Onalaska is quite a bit ahead of where Rhinelander is at right now. Rhinelander can compete and win some games in the GNC, but outside of that, they got a ways to go.
And it's incorrect on my sheet I gave to you as well. Antigo finished 4-6, and we're talking about Antigo here. 4-6 Antigo. They lost to Fox Valley Lutheran 42-14. So Red Robins finished 4-6. Fox Valley Lutheran advances at 7-3. 35-0 in the second quarter. So it was really over pretty quickly. Alec Napcavage for the Red Robins, 12 rushes, 58 yards for Antigo, and a very balanced attack for Fox Valley Lutheran. 205 yards passing, 204 yards rushing. But for a program like Antigo, and again, I mean, we know the history of what Antigo has been able to do, but the last couple of years, they were struggling to fielding teams, and they did take steps forward this season. So obviously, you don't build Rome in a day. So it was a much better campaign for Antigo. You take the playoff berth, you take, again, the steps forward that I think it's a little different circumstance for Antigo. You do have things you can really try to build on starting next year.
Yeah, and I think when we talked to Coach earlier in the year, I think a big step for them was numbers, right? Getting some guys back out after it had been so sparse for a while. So if this success gets you 10 more guys out for football next year, I think that helps take the next step forward.
And Lakeland, like last season, basically the 10 games, you could say they started with 4 losses. They had 5 wins, and then they lose in the level 1 playoff. So Lakeland finishes 5-5 after falling to Sparta, 43-8. 6-4 Sparta. I thought it was going to be a little tighter, and actually for a while it was. Lakeland actually took the lead 8-0. It was 8-8 after one quarter. It was 22-8 at halftime, and then Sparta pulled away, outscoring Lakeland 21-0 in the second half. Only 8 points, but Noah Bruckner had a big night on the ground for Lakeland. Ran 34 times for 179 yards. So sometimes you have to see the game. Sometimes it's a matter you're able to move between the 20s and then just not able to finish. So Bruckner did the job. But again, the thing that kind of jumps out, and I think we can take it from this game and then take it from the other games we talked about, these teams that did squeeze into the playoffs for the Great Northern Conference, still a lot of work to do to get to that next level, to not only get through the conference and win the games you're supposed to, but then have the talent to compete just to win a game in the postseason playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be very interested next year. I assume, and I don't know this for sure, but I assume with the conference realignment for football, with adding East and Tomahawk and losing Ashland and Hayward, if they shuffle their deck a little bit with the order of their schedule, because it played such a big role this year, right?
Yes, it did.
Rhinelander, hot start, struggled at the end. Lakeland, the exact opposite. So maybe having those tough games spread out a little bit more throughout their season helps with that as well.
And also, I mean, I think it's almost a little more than that as well, because you look at what East did against Lakeland and then what they did against Rhinelander. It does appear that Rhinelander was playing better at the time. I mean, and Lakeland was struggling to score any points in those early games against East, and I think Tomahawk as well, if I wasn't mistaken. Probably games they expected to win in those non-conference games. So I think for Lakeland, it was this year at least, maybe not last year, but this year at least, it was a case where they started slowly. And then, of course, they had Mosine and Medford in those first 2 conference games. But at the same time, it was a program that looked to get better as the season went on. But I guess it's a little, I expected a little more this time. When I saw Sparta, because it wasn't, last year they faced Medford in the first round. This time they went outside the area, a Sparta team that was 6-3. You wanted to see, I guess I wanted for Central Wisconsin and North Central Wisconsin football to maybe see a little bit more from Lakeland.
Yeah, and I think maybe the conference gets a little more competitive when you throw a school of 900, Wausau East, whose program we saw advance a little bit this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also take a Tomahawk team who was competitive this year, won a nice game to end the season. I think maybe both of those, for sure one, if not both of those, are upgrades over Ashland, and then maybe one, if not both, over Hayward as well. So maybe that in-season competition gives them a little more strength heading into the playoffs as well.
Division 5, the first game really, I think, is another example of where things need to be adjusted by the WIAA, because Wittenberg-Burnhamwood faced Clintonville. And this season on the field, Clintonville won one game, and they made the playoffs because they had a couple of forfeits. Menominee Indian left their conference and went on to play 8-player. And Northern Pines did not field a varsity team, so they had 2 forfeit wins. They did, and again, they probably could have, I don't know whether or not, how many choices they had, but the 2 games they picked up as replacement games, they lost. So they were 1-8, and yet, because they had 3 wins in the conference, they were able to get in the postseason. They lost to Wittenberg-Burnhamwood 46-8. Nathan Wapenake had 8 rushes, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 5 of 11 passing, 35 yards. Marshall Fraze up, 10 rushes, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Whitburn ran it up and down the field, 384 yards on 35 carries as a team. But obviously, we're going to find more about Wittenberg-Burnhamwood this week because, again, one of those brackets where it's like, you face a 1-8 team in the first round of the playoffs. At home, you're expected to win.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know from a Wittenberg stand where they're at from this. Like, did this? It was just like having an extra bye week, so you're maybe not a little rusty. We'll talk about their matchup with Amherst in a little while here, but yeah, this is definitely kind of like a bye week or a gimme for them. And again, I should know the answer to this, but I don't. I do not know if the computer plays a role in choosing the field or just setting the brackets once it's chosen. But I would like to think,
I'm pretty sure it's not about choosing the field, it's the brackets.
Well, I would like to think if there were human beings involved that we might take that. So if there's a 3-6 team that did not make the playoffs but actually had 3 on the field wins, I would like to think that they would have a better chance of making the field than a team who truly only won 1 football game during the season.
Amherst, they struggled, but they beat New Holstein 14-0. Amherst 7-3, New Holstein 6-4. Game was scoreless with 3.5 minutes left in the second quarter. Then Amherst Nasiah Holland intercepted a pass, returned it 50 yards for a touchdown. 3 plays later, Amherst intercepted another pass, and then they would score 2 plays later. And that was it, all the scoring. And Amherst defense stopped New Holstein on downs at the 4 and the 11 in the second half. So obviously it was a bit of a struggle for Amherst, but they advance.
Yeah, I think the offensive struggles is probably what might end up being the end of them when the end comes. This should be a great game this week, but that's kind of been their MO with the losses they've had this year. They've played good teams. Obviously, we know how good Stratford is and Whitburn. I forget who they were, one non-conference.
Yeah, it was a good team, though.
I would say it was a good team, but not a great team. You know what I mean? So the Amhersts that we know of the past have won those games or been competitive or they've been shootouts. And I would say, obviously, great job by their defense, but you're going to have to score more points than that to make a deep playoff run.
And Colby defeated Durand, Arkansas, 34-30. Brody Vagut, a game-winning touchdown on an 11-yard run with 48 seconds left in the game for number 1 seeded Colby. Gavin Voss, 25 rushes, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Colby, a big edge in rushing yards, but Durand, Arkansas quarterback Brett Brydung hit on for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns. But boy, on 8-1 and just barely surviving was Colby.
The one thing I know about this, the reason I know it, Coach Johnson's cousin is one of the coaches for Durand. And I know over the last 5 years, Durand has actually had a pretty solid program, like no state runs or anything like that, but they've made a couple of fairly deep runs in the playoffs. So a good program there. And I think when we look at the rest of these scores, we're going to find out that maybe outside of Edgar, the Marywood wasn't maybe as strong as we thought it was this year.
Maybe not. We have more to come. Got to take a quick break, and then we'll talk about Division 6, Division 7, and the 8-player Level 1 playoffs after we come back. Along with Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
This is Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
UpUS Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Again, our student athlete guest coming up at 7:06 will be Wyatt Harris from Mosine. And I skipped right past Division 4. And thankfully, Coach Foster said, hey, are you skipping Division 4? And I said, what? No, I skipped Division 4. And Mosine this year, usually Division 3, this year Division 4, and Mosine rolled past Bloomer 55-16. Gavin Obremski 12-17, 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. Keegan Jershely 6 catches, 158 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Wyatt Harris, our guest coming up, 10 rushes, 69 yards, 3 touchdowns. Elliot Yurkovsky 10 tackles and interception. It was 27-0 early. 27-0 second quarter, made it 34-0 at halftime, 48-0 after 3, and Mosine dominates Bloomer. And again, it's going to be interesting to see how Mosine goes through this bracket. That's a little bit different.
Yeah, and maybe good. You may see some different teams. They avoided that first round GNC matchup and had a lot of success outside the conference, so hopefully build some confidence going into level 2 and 3.
Let's go right to Division 6 in a game that Tom Weaver had here on Bull Falls Radio last Friday night. Looked for a while like another 8-1 as Marathon had an 18-0 lead at Auburndale at halftime, but then the Eagles came back and defeated Marathon 21-18. Colton Weiler, an 11-yard touchdown run with 2:18 left in the game, wins it for Auburndale. Marathon was 0 for 3 on 2-point conversions. Auburndale was 1 of 2 on 2-point conversions and then added a PAT on their final score. Caden Anderson, 10 of 26, 124 yards and an interception, added 28 rushes for 122 yards and a score for Auburndale. Weiler, 15 rushes, 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cooper Huxama, 9 of 25 passing, but 208 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Tyler Underwood, 4 catches, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Truthers, 15 carries, 59 yards. And boy, Marathon, we talked to both Cooper Huxama and Tyler Underwood last week. There was confidence and there was reason for it, but you have to give Auburndale a lot of credit. You're down 18-0 at home in the playoffs, and they dig themselves out.
Yeah, looking at the scores from earlier in the year, is that that 2-point conversion thing? Is that a marathon? Like, do they start for it, and then if they don't get it, they go? Because that's interesting.
I know,
to me that
you lose the
you
points.
both scored 3 touchdowns, you lose by 2 points. That's a tough. You're kind of chasing from the get-go there.
Stratford over Wyowega Fremont. Stratford 9-1 beats Wyowega Fremont, who started 6-0 but loses their last 4. 49-0. It was 21-0 after 1, 35-0 at halftime. Kohler Kilty, 15 rushes, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jack Tubbs, 7 of 9 passing, 110 yards, 2 scores and a pick. And the Stratford D holds Wyowega Fremont to 187 yards of offense. I think Stratford is going to be a load in Division 6.
Yeah, I was kind of waited.
And again, they were the number 2 seed and Auburndale the number 1 seed.
Yeah, kind of waited 11 weeks to hear about what actually happened in the Stratford-Edgar game. So it's great to hear from Coach Sinz tonight, just all the things that went wrong for Stratford. But obviously they have corrected since then and are certainly on a path to make a run back to Madison.
Cadott, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Cadott then upset Abbotsford 7-2, 22-20. Jordan Peters found Nolan Bloom for a 15-yard touchdown with 4 seconds left in the game to give Cadott the win. Abbotsford led 13-0 at halftime and then took a 20-8 lead in the second half, but a special teams play really turned it around because Cadott returned the ensuing kickoff for a score. J.V. Castillo ran 20 times for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns for Abbotsford. They ran for 288 yards, 7.8 yards per carry as a team, but boy, number one, giving up a pass with 4 seconds to go and also giving up that kickoff return in the second half has to sting.
Yeah, Abbotsford was built to win this game with their ability to run the ball and play good defense. Home game, I believe this was the 6-3 matchup. But yeah, 7-2 matchup. Yeah, so to give up that special teams touchdown and then obviously have some issues with PATs and tries after that played a role in this one as well. Yeah. So that's a tough way to end, which Abbotsford, who would have been a nice cap to their season, making it to level 2 and competing at that level, but losing here kind of gets them probably leaves a pretty sour taste in their mouth.
Yeah. D7, Edgar beat Glenwood City 36-0. Tegan Strite, 8 rushes, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. Carter Budd, 11 carries, 89 yards, 2 scores, and 14 tackles. Those numbers indicate, again, like you asked the coach, they didn't have to exert themselves last week and keep them healthy for this week against Regis.
Yeah, and I think all the tradition in Edgar, both what they've done, the tradition between them and Stratford, and this week is about as big as any of the rivalry games they have. Them and Regis. This is what they do. They play in the playoffs, and it should be a great one.
And again, another game where each team scored 3 touchdowns, but in the end, one was better at the 2-point conversions. And unlike Marathon, Cambria Friesland was able to convert on all their 2-point conversions and edge Iola Scandinavia 24-22. It was 16-8 Iola at halftime, but not enough. Cambria Friesland had a couple of 140-yard-plus rushers. Jensen Rice had 15 carries, 79 yards, 2 scores for Iola. Ryan Campart, 13 rushes, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Was not surprised to see Iola have a chance to win on the road. But again, those 2-point conversions turning into the difference of the game.
Yeah, and this one I would say is a little bit of a surprise because I kind of felt like of that neck of the woods that Iola Scandinavia was kind of the wild card or the one who might make a level 2 or level 3 appearance.
And Loyal, number 8 seed, gave undefeated number 1 seed Reidsville quite a battle, but fell 21-6. Loyal led early 6-0, but then single touchdowns in the second, third, and fourth quarters for Reidsville. Again, Loyal was a team that played much better coming down the stretch. They didn't win a game, I think, until about week 7, but played well coming down the stretch and gave an undefeated team really all they could handle.
Yeah, I mean, again, 3-7 is a rough overall schedule. Not going to look good in the history books, but I would say Loyal definitely has some things to hang their hat on and look forward to going into the offseason.
And 8-player Newman Catholic saw their run as state champs come to an end, but a good season for the Cards as they fell to undefeated Gilman 49-20. Tyler Ackerman, again, a terrific season. The junior ran 28 times for 148 yards and a touchdown, was 11-22, 121 yards and a touchdown, plus 15 tackles on defense. Quincy Fender had 7 catches, 71 yards and a touchdown for Newman. Backup quarterback Logan Halida was 12-14, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick for Gilman. Troy Duhlman, 16 rushes, 119 yards as well. So, again, Ackerman, boy, he carried so much on his shoulders this season. Another big game for him. And when you see a backup quarterback come in and throw like that, it's tough to overcome if you're Newman.
Yeah, and it was great talking to Coach Micklig last week and knowing the significance of this team. Like, this could have very easily been a 3-6, 2-7 team, the way they started the year and that being completely unsure with a brand new squad. So I think at the end of the day, when you look back at this season, Coach Micklig's going to be pretty proud of what they accomplished.
We got to take a time out for top of the hour news, and then we'll come back with our student athlete guest from Mosine High School, Wyatt Harris. Outstanding running back and linebacker coming up next. It's the Big High School Sports Show. One more hour to go here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
Your home for the Chad Holmes Show. Weekday mornings, 8 till 10 on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM WXCO. Did you know this local radio station is part of Civic Media? Learn more about the entire network at civicmedia.us. Bull Falls Radio 1230 AM and 98.9 FM WXCO programming is broadcast from the Bug Tussle Studios. Bug Tussle, keeping you connected to the world around you. Love your hometown? Don't miss the Devil's Advocates radio show on the road for the very first Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023.
Rudy's doing DC, baby. The rest of the week I'll be there. I got some big guests lined up.
And you'll have to tune in for those very special guests live from Washington, D.C. this Wednesday and Thursday. Catch the broadcast starting at 4.
Road trip with the Devil's Advocates Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023 on your local Civic Media radio station and the app. You're listening to Bull Falls Radio, WXCO 1230 AM, W255DN Wausau, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Christopher Cruz. Republicans have nominated Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana to be Speaker of the House, the fourth candidate for the job in just 2 weeks, says CBS's Nicole Killian on Capitol Hill.
Johnson was elected after House Republican Whip Tom Emmer couldn't secure enough support. Emmer was Speaker designate for about 4 hours before he withdrew from the race. Former President Trump called Emmer a rhino and said he would be a tragic mistake.
There could be a vote on Johnson's nomination as soon as this morning. It's not clear he has the 217 Republican votes to get the job.
Here he comes. Cave, a fly ball to right field. Over is Carroll. He's got it. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are headed to the World Series.
The call from TBS Sports. In fact, the Diamondbacks are going to the World Series for the first time in 22 years. They stunned the Philadelphia Phillies 4-2 in Game 7 of the National League Championship Series last night. Arizona will play the Texas Rangers for the world title. Game 1 set for Friday night. Israel appears to be getting closer to a ground invasion of Gaza, says CBS's Holly Williams.
The Israeli military says that they've already launched limited raids into Gaza to kill militants. But obviously something much bigger is expected, especially if you look at troops massed near the border with the Gaza Strip.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby acknowledges an invasion would cause collateral damage.
This is war. It is combat. It is bloody. It is ugly. And it's going to be messy. And innocent civilians are going to be hurt.
Hurricane Otis is now a catastrophic Category 5 storm and has made landfall near Acapulco. It could drop as much as 5 to 10 inches of rain on Guerrero State, with as much as 15 inches possible in some areas. Another strike in progress.
The St. Lawrence Seaway, a crucial marine shipping route that links the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean, has been shut down after nearly 400 union workers went on strike. They want better pay to keep up with the rising cost of living.
If it wasn't for the St. Lawrence Seaway, the Lakes region and the rest of the world would not be connected the way they are with the Seaway there.
Aaron Benziger is with Chicago-based Central Marine Logistics.
CBS's Jim Krasula. NHL players are going to be allowed to use Pride tape this season. The league and the Players Union agreed to give players the option to represent societal causes with stick tape during warm-ups, practices, and at games. This is CBS News.
You need to hire? Indeed is with you every step of the way, helping you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Part of Interstate 90 in Wisconsin might be named after the state's Native American code talkers. There's a bill in the legislature to dedicate the stretch of freeway between La Crosse and Tomah the Ho-Chunk World War II Code Talkers Memorial Highway. Code talkers used their tribal languages for secret communication to help the U.S. Army win World Wars I and II. The state of Wisconsin is joining a federal lawsuit against the social media company Meta. 32 other states are part of the suit. It accuses Meta of knowingly designing and launching addictive features on Instagram and Facebook, leading to a mental health crisis for young people across the nation. The coalition also says it's looking into the social media app TikTok for similar reasons. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now, here's what you need to know closer to home.
The Packers getting ready for the Vikings. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Packers started out the year atop the NFC North with Detroit, while Minnesota was 0-3 and in the basement. Now the tables have turned. The Vikings up to 3-4, having won their last two, including against the 49ers Monday night. Head coach Matt LaFleur on the Vikings defense, led by new defensive coordinator Brian Flores.
Yeah, they're doing an outstanding job. I think Coach Flores, who's got a very aggressive scheme, and it seems like they're starting to get their footing more and more the more they play.
The Packers placing two defensive players on IR, safety Darnell Savage and defensive back Eric Stokes. I asked how he got hurt early in Sunday's game in Denver.
Just running down on punt, tried to accelerate again, and felt a little pop in my hamstring.
Elsewhere, former Packers place kicker Mason Crosby with a tryout for the L.A. Rams. Baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers granting permission to the New York Mets to interview manager Craig Counsell. No other details. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Here's your Bull Falls radio forecast. Cloudy tonight with a chance for scattered showers. Lows around 51. East winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely tomorrow, high of 60. Scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow night, lows around 49. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Right now, 53.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Wausau, where highways 29 and 51 intersect. This is Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM WXCO.
And welcome back. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. With former Wausau West head football coach Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes, and time as we do each and every Wednesday night, start of the second hour, our student athlete guest for this week. And from Mosine High School, very happy to welcome outstanding running back and linebacker Wyatt Harrison. Wyatt, number one, it's always great when somebody's able to come on up, join us in studio. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
A couple of nights before your big game.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I mean, it's good to give my team a platform and talk for the guys, and I love it.
Terrific. And I guess before we talk specifically about yourself and talk about maybe what you've been doing on the field, your team. Been an outstanding season, 9 wins and 1 loss, had a level 1 win impressively last week. I guess maybe a thumbnail sketch of what the season's been like. Starting off in the summer when you started practice, what were the expectations? How has the team come together? What's been your overall impression on what your team has been able to accomplish in the first 10 games?
Yeah, for sure. So over the summer, we lost 2 key players, Barnes Bunkelman and Davin Stoffel, and those guys played huge roles for our team. So we kind of knew that some players are going to have to step up in big roles. And throughout the summer, we had to determine who's going to play where and all that. And then eventually we started kind of figuring it out. I had to step up for middle linebacker. Elliott had to step up for middle linebacker. And Jerry had to come and play outside linebacker, switching down from defensive back. So it was a big figuring out process throughout the summer. But once we figured things out, we were confident. We got a lot of athletes on this team, a lot of guys that can make things happen, and we've been doing that.
So you go through the process you just talked about. Mm-hmm. You guys have a nice tradition at Mosine right now. We've had some really nice teams over the last several years, 5 to 10 years, and then you're a little uncertain because you got to make some changes. And week 1 is Stratford, a team that you don't always beat, but that you've been competitive with, and that it wasn't, right? That it wasn't as close as it's been historically. So things have gone really well since then. What did the outcome of that game? How did that impact you guys, and what's changed since that night?
I think that game was really important to kind of help us figure out who we are, right? We weren't very confident in our positions at that time. And it's just an experience thing. That game gave everybody that small experience at their new positions. And it was really important because I think we had a sense of overconfidence maybe. And after last year's game, it was a close game. And I think that we were all thinking that it was going to be a lot closer, and we just weren't ready. They weren't clicking, and we realized that we need to make an improvement for sure.
And they were the defending state champs, so they were no schmucks.
Well, something we were kind of talking about during the break is the idea of Mosine football over the years being one that would throw the ball around a lot, have a lot of passes, a lot of attempts, a lot of yardage. And this group is more, I would say, more within the between the tackles kind of a team in terms of toughness. And for yourself, obviously, as a running back and a linebacker, could you talk about the mentality? Because obviously Mosine's had that tradition of maybe going over the top of teams instead of going through them. Is this mentality a little bit different for Mosine?
Yeah, it's all about being tough this year. Our linemen, and they're doing an excellent job. We got to be prepared to do a little bit of everything, but when it comes down to it, we want to run the ball. And those guys, they know how to do their job. And all the credit for my running goes to them 100%. But those guys get it done in there. I mean, and a lot of them play both ways too. So it's all about that endurance and staying strong in the trenches. So it's given me the opportunity to run the ball more, which I love for the team and for the guys. But yeah, for sure.
So following up with that, we talked about it a little bit off air. Like, what are the? I think there's more pros than cons, but what are the pros to playing both ways? Like, obviously you get to be on the field a lot, but when you talk about the mentality of the team, and if we have when we read the stats every week and watch the games, we see the same names on both sides of the ball having great offensive games, lots of tackles, interceptions, that sort of thing. How does that impact the overall mentality of the team?
I think connected between offense and defense, everybody's a lot tighter, and you know that you have those same people that you trusted on one side of the ball come to the other side of the ball with you, and I think that's really important. When you have a whole defensive unit that goes out and that's their job, there's a lot of things that are interworking things. Our offensive guys have a really good idea of what the other teams are running, because when they're on defense, they can read that offense a lot better than someone who was maybe just playing only on defense. And I think that's really important to have understanding of both sides of the ball really well. So.
Again, we're talking to Wyatt Harris from Mosine High School, senior running back and linebacker, here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. We mentioned as well, we had your coach on as our coach guest the week of the Medford game. And that was obviously the game. It's always the game in the Great Northern Conference. And this year you had to go on the road and you shut them down. Before that game, talking to the coach, we were saying, hey, it'd be fun to come back home on the bus and spoil their homecoming. And that was the game of the season of the GNC. What were the keys for your team in that game against Medford? And maybe what did you find out? Because you had the game early against Stratford. That didn't go your way. Then you went through a lot of games where, frankly, they weren't quite at the level maybe that Stratford is or that Medford is. Number one, the keys of that game, and number two, what'd you find out about your team that night?
The most important thing was we had to stay tough. They're a team that's going to pound their rock at you. I mean, they're going to run the ball every play, and the minute you think they're going to pass, they're going to run again. So it's all about staying tough. Our linebackers needed to step up and make sure they hit those holes, and people needed to take on those lead blocks. They got 250-pound dudes coming to nail
every
you
year,
on the
don't
edge.
they?
Yeah. But it was just a mentality thing when it boils down to it. I think it was all about, we believe that we're the better team, and if we can show you a rundown, then I think that we got that game pretty secured. So
the other thing that's been impressive to me watching your season and seeing the summaries each week about the stat lines, offense, defense, and it seems like just about every week there's a big special teams play mixed in there. Is that just because you guys have really good athletes, or do you guys spend a lot of time on special teams in practice?
It's definitely an emphasis for sure. We take 20 minutes to work on it, but Keegan Jersley is a special athlete. Mm-hmm. I look back and he's breaking 5 tackles and he's gone. Next thing you know, it's incredible what he can do with the ball in his hands. And I think as far as our special teams goes, we're strong. But when you have a guy like Keegan back there, he makes it work no matter what. And we could have the worst special teams and he's going to score those touchdowns.
In terms of leadership, you're one of the seniors, and it seems as though you do have some pretty good experience with this squad. Who do you see as the leaders of this team in terms of maybe within the locker room or with those moments on the sideline where you need something a little extra? Who are the kids that that are going to have either doing it through their actions or doing it through a word or two as well?
Well, for starters, Keegan. He's not a player that's going to let you drop your head. He's going to be there to pick your head up, and he's going to be there to make sure the team is playing right. But Ben Schley, he's one of our linemen, but he's got an excellent head on him. He makes sure everybody is doing their job, and the minute anybody gets upset about something, Ben is there. He's not letting people throw a temper tantrum on the sideline because they mess something up. It's the play happened, it's over. And he's awesome at doing that. Myself, I think I take pride in being a leader for our team, and that's that. But Jerry. So those are our 4 captains, but, voted based off leadership.
How come when we ask about leaders, they always end up being the captains? You guys know what you're doing when you vote for those captains, don't you?
I love my team. So.
And I think to follow up with that, too, like we had Coach Sinz on from Edgar a little bit earlier, and he was talking about the different things they do on defense, and they mix things up a lot. And one of their senior captains, great athlete, I'm sure you know who he is, Carter Butt, he said that he basically chooses what front they're going to be in and stuff like that. And we all know that good teams, the coaches make a lot of calls and take over the leadership. On great teams, it's the players. What does Friday night on the field, like you guys do lead in practice and probably lead a lot in the off season when coaches can't be around doing things, but on the field Friday night, what kind of leadership do you see out of yourself and your teammates on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, so on offense, it's more of a Gavin thing, and he's our quarterback, our starting quarterback. So he looks at that play and their scheme, and he thinks, well, we could audible this to a quick play or a quick dump pass, or we could run the ball. And there's a lot of power in his hands because we run an option offense. So he's reading those DNs and those linebackers coming up to determine if that's going to be a handoff or not. So I think Gavin plays a huge role in our offense. But on defense, I would say Coach has given me a good amount of freedom to call the plays as I see it. And I think that's been pretty important. He'll give me what he thinks to run, and he tells me if you think that this is the right play to run a blitz for you or Elliott or whoever, then call that if you see that. Or if you need to switch up the play, then, switch it up so it matches what we need to do.
And do you like that? To be able to have that freedom and responsibility? Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's awesome.
How much does being a two-way athlete help on both sides of the football? I mean, when you talk about that responsibility on the defensive side, where you have to kind of get into the head as well of the offense, because, if you're calling something or you're calling whether it's you want a blitz or whatever you set up, how much does it help to be somebody that sees it through the eyes of a running back and then sees it through the eyes of a linebacker?
I think it's really helpful on the option, because then you're able to read, all right, so if my DN comes down, there's a pretty good chance that this QB is going to pull the ball and he's going to pitch it. And you just have a better sense of everything almost. Motion, a lot of those motions you can kind of see through, and a lot of teams that run counter, that are counter heavy, if you see that motion and you see the minute they call hut, I'm looking at the guard. The guard's pulling, I'm like, all right, I need to reroute, and I'm there for that counter. But it's just, you have a better general sense of all the potential plays, but then when it boils down to, okay, you watch film, you see their plays, now all these keys that I know and I see, then it's easier to call that out for sure.
Yeah, that was my next question, is what role does film watching and through confidence and through understanding what they're going to do before? I've always used to say the best defenses are the ones who know what the offense is going to do before they do it. What does a week of film watching look like for the whole team, and then even extra for the guys who are calling the plays?
Yeah, we start off Monday. We got lift, and then we do about an hour and a half of film. So that's for the whole team. But individually, we try to get in as much film as we can. I mean, and there's a lot of guys that brag about, I'm watching this much film. But it's definitely important. To have a sense of what they're doing is extremely important. Going into the game not knowing is not ideal.
I don't think the average person recognizes how much high school kids are watching film right now and what an important part of winning and losing a high school football game it really is.
And frankly, I think probably people are a little surprised to have, hearing that both your quarterback and yourself on defense have the opportunity to take it into your own hands a little bit, because I think at all levels we hear about coaches who are almost afraid to let their players have that ability where they're between the lines and seeing what's happening to take advantage of those moments. And I think that's probably something that's very good for you as well.
Of course, yeah.
We got to take a real quick break, a 1-minute break, but we'll be right back. Have more with Wyatt Harris from Mosine High School coming up. Along with Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes. We'll have more to come here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230.
Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
Bug Tussle has been providing high-speed internet to rural Wisconsin before it was cool. Now we're celebrating the company and the bug that started it all. In honor of our mascot Buford's birthday and the anniversary of our company, we are giving new customers free service until 2024, and 5 current customers will win $1,000 each. For more details and to get Bug Tussle internet today, call 877-227-0924. That's 877-227-0924.
Disabled or an elderly Medicare beneficiary with questions about Part D prescription benefits? The Disability Rights Wisconsin Medicare Part D helpline is here for you. Ask about saving money on your Part D premium, deductible, and copays. Call the Disability Rights Wisconsin Medicare Part D helpline anytime. 1-800-926-4862. 1-800-926-4862. Medicare's annual open enrollment runs October 15th through December 7th.
This is Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And again, if you missed the show, you can always get it as a podcast. Go to our website, bullfallsradio.com/sports, or wherever you get your podcast. So again, if you miss any of the show and want to hear it again, we'll have it up as a podcast. I get it done right after the show ends, so it'll be up there just after 8 o'clock. With Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes, joined again by senior Wyatt Harris from Mosine High School. We'll get back to the football in just a little bit, but are you involved in any other sports?
No, actually.
All focus on football.
I bailed on them pretty early in my high school career, which I regret for sure.
When you're not involved in athletics, what do you do to try to get away when you wanted to sort of, do something a little different? What do you like to do?
I lift a lot of weights, but
and he looks like it, folks. I gotta say that's
I don't try not to sound like too much of a meathead, but outside of football, I'm a family guy. I like to be around my family, and I think that's really important. But
what kind of family? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, so I have an older brother who goes to Madison, and then I have 2 younger brothers.
Oh,
so.
Boy.
Yeah, all boys.
Mom has her hands full, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Are your younger brothers football players too?
Yeah. They both came in. They both didn't start too hot, but they look good now.
Good,
so
very good. So what is your plan after high school? What are you looking to do? Either looking to extend your football career and academic career? Are you looking to just choose a school academically? What's your plan?
I wanted to do football for a long time, and it's not in the back of my mind yet. It's still an option for sure, but my brother is like my best friend, and I would love to go to Madison and spend some time with him. And I think Madison's a good school as far as academics go, which I treasure a lot. So, but it's kind of 50-50 between those options. I'll see how the season wraps up and what my offers are and all that.
Have you had people that have come to you from maybe, I don't know, whether it's Division III, I imagine that they're all over you, or any other schools that have kind of reached out?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of D3 schools. Obviously, Stevens Point, Stout, River Falls. There's a school actually in Arkansas that reached out to me. It's called Lions College. I might be wrong on where it is, but I'm like 90% sure. But yeah, I haven't really done the greatest job of advertising myself, which I think is really important in today's age. So I always kind of get a little bit upset about that, but
well, there would certainly be nothing wrong with going to Madison. That's about as good as it gets, and there's a lot of really good intramural stuff to do there as well. But you can never go wrong going to Madison. That's for sure.
Do you have a favorite class?
I like biology a lot. I'm in honors bio this year, and I took normal bio last year. But I think it's really fascinating to kind of just know the inner workings of everything. I don't know.
And do you have an idea? Again, this is not putting you to write down, this is what I'm going to do in the future, but do you have an idea maybe on what kind of career that interests you, I guess, at this point?
I wanted to go for kinesiology for the longest time, but I also really like the idea of going for a doctorate. I think the having that ability to challenge yourself in such a prestigious career path like that that's something I kind of look forward to, is just the constant challenge in life. So I think that would be awesome, but we'll see.
Again, we're talking to Wyatt Harris, senior, running back and linebacker from Mosine High School, here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Well, Level 2, Friday night, Somerset. And Somerset had a big 36-12 win on the road at Oconto Falls last week. Number 2 seed Mosine gets to host again this week. And as you prepared, and Coach was talking about, you do look at a lot of tape now with the huddle and everything else that's out there. What have you seen with Somerset? What do you expect this week?
They run a lot of counter. So they're a really run-heavy team, and they have a good running back. He's like 6'2", 220. He has 1,200 yards on the season. So our game plan right now is let's stop this run, and without giving too much away, obviously.
I don't know how many Somerset folks are tuned in. I hope they are.
But they're a really run-heavy team, so we're looking to stop that, and we want to make sure our line is recognizing all those counters and all those reverses and all that. But they're going to be tough, 100%. You can't. It's playoffs. It's not the time to be underestimating any team by any means. And like you said, they beat what was Oconto 3 seed, correct?
Yep. Yeah, on the road.
And that was shocking to us because, I mean, you always, in high school football, you're always kind of looking at that higher seed and team. And
you believe those computers, don't you?
Yeah. But,
and Oconto Falls was a long trip for them, too, so they're kind of road tested as well.
It was like 4 hours.
Yeah,
crazy.
Absolutely. Kind of crazy to me that the guys are both, those 3 schools are all in the same. So running the football, you guys have had a nice test against Stratford early, obviously big, strong running team. Medford running powerhouse that you see every year in conference. You've talked a lot already about watching film and reading your keys and all that, which obviously can tell you're a good linebacker. So is there anything special you do, or do you just do what you guys do and do it really well this week? Any big, you don't have to tell us what the changes are, but is it pretty much status quo and just do it as flawlessly as possible, or you got some wrinkles?
Yeah, I think we're going to stick to our normal game plan. I think we've got that pretty mastered. And if we have to make those adjustments, our coach is really good at making that within the game. But as far as making any changes go, I think we're just going to handle this like any other run team, especially because they're mainly out of a 5 front, so they're not really stacking the box too much like a team like Medford would, where we would have to maybe add a couple more linemen to just cluster things up a little bit. But I think our base defense should be able to handle this pretty well, for sure.
Do they play on turf, or do they have a grass field?
I believe it's grass, but don't quote me on that. But
would you rather make a great tackle for a loss or score a touchdown?
Score a touchdown. I love the feeling.
What about this week offensively? You talked a lot about defensively. What do you expect when you have the football against their D?
I'm going to make it happen. And that's not a cocky thing. I have all faith in my linemen. Those guys, like I said, they get it done. So I have the trust in them that they're going to give me the ability to run the ball, and I'm going to do my best.
And what we do always to wrap up the interview, as we're coming up on the bottom of the hour, is especially for a senior who's been through it for a few years, and obviously with some younger brothers, I think you can give some great advice as well. But what piece of advice would you give folks that join your program as a freshman or maybe a sophomore that you've learned over the years, that maybe a piece of advice to take with them as they start their journey through Mosine football?
Treasure those practices. Everybody hates practice. It's a huge thing. Oh, I love games. I hate practice. But some of those practices have been, life memories that I'll always keep in mind. Like growing up with these guys on the football field and spending every day with them at practice it's been awesome. You get to create a brotherhood that hopefully lasts a long time. So,
do you allow yourself, I guess one more question before we let you go. Do you allow yourself to dream about going to Camp Randall Stadium, or do you try to stay so focused on, one practice at a time and one game at a time? But, when you put your head on the pillow, do you allow yourself that thought of maybe, hey, that would be just a perfect way to wrap up the high school career?
Of course. You gotta dream it to make it happen. You got to believe in yourself, and I think that's really important. I don't see a reason that I wouldn't be able to look at it that way. That's what I want.
Anything else, Will? We got a minute here.
Mosine's been there before, so it can happen, right?
Hopefully that's the plan.
Well,
that is the plan.
Great job tonight. Looking forward to seeing how things go Friday night, and best of luck not only this week but the rest of the season and moving forward in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Best
you
of luck making sure that the uniforms don't get completely muddied on Friday night. All this rain this week. Wyatt Harris, linebacker, running back of the Mosine Indians. Again, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We're going to take a timeout and look ahead to Level 2 playoff action. Coming up is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
You're listening to Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
CBS News Brief. Republicans have handed the Speaker gavel to Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana. He replaces Kevin McCarthy. Speaker Johnson saying,
"We're going to govern well, and I think the people are going to be very pleased with those results."
President Biden and the Prime Minister of Australia condemned the deadly Hamas attack in southern Israel. Mr. Biden also backs Israel's military campaign in Gaza, but presses for more aid to civilians.
The flow needs to increase, and we're working very hard with our partners to make that happen. We're also working around the clock together with our partners in the region to secure the release of hostages.
The man accused of crashing his car, killing 4 college students in Malibu, California last week is charged with multiple counts of murder and gross vehicular manslaughter. L.A. County District Attorney George Gascon.
We lost 4 young people with a complete life ahead of them for really no reason other than complete and reckless disregard for the life of others.
CBS News Brief, I'm Jennifer Kuiper.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Another day, another cyber attack in Wisconsin. This time, the Rock County Administrative Offices in Janesville says it was hit. The county's administrator says a criminal actor hacked the county's network database, encrypted some files, and demanded almost $2 million to put everything back the way it was. The headquarters of Quick Trip and American Family Insurance were also recently hacked. There's a new member of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Governor Evers is tapping longtime Eau Claire City employee Carrie Reipel. She served in the city clerk and human resources offices since 2011. Reipel says she'll be able to provide an expert's opinion in the role. She'll keep her job in Eau Claire while making regular trips to Madison. Her appointment is subject to state Senate approval. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News. Now, here's what you need to know closer to home.
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks or stereotypes, don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Here's your Bull Falls radio forecast. Cloudy tonight with a chance for scattered showers. Lows around 51. East winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely tomorrow, high of 60. Scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow night, lows around 49. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Right now, 53.
RPG came through the belly of the aircraft. We don't talk about the female combat wounded. These are our daughters and our sisters and our mothers. Wounded Warrior Project came into my life and taught me how to stand back up and get back in the fight. The truth is, I think we all have this strength inside of us, but until you're tested, you just don't know it's there.
See how Wounded Warrior Project empowers women veterans like Beth by visiting woundedwarriorproject.org/empowerwomenvets.
Bull Falls Radio, WXCO. Radio keeps your community informed, entertained, and connected. It's what we're all about at the Civic Media Network of local radio stations.
We're having fun and moving fast to preserve hometown radio across Wisconsin. This includes a commitment to news. Now we want to invite you to join Civic Media's exclusive Facebook group, Wisconsin Breaking News. It's a place to share your community's news and chat with others from across the state about it.
Join the Facebook group, Wisconsin Breaking News, today. It's the perfect companion to your local Civic Media radio station.
My name is Teresa Barber. I was in the United States Navy, and I served overseas in the Middle East and Africa. Early on in my career, I had a commander that taught our suicide prevention training, and the very next day, he took his own life. 90% of suicide attempts involving a gun are fatal. My way of continuing my service is to help protect my community by being a responsible gun owner and by storing firearms safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Local news, talk, and sports for Marathon County and beyond. Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM WXCO.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. BullFallsRadio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. With Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes. And boy, again, it's so great to see kids that really present themselves so well. And Wyatt Harris came in here and we had that short break in the middle. He says, I hope I'm doing okay. He's doing great. But it's like, comes on, you can see why he is a leader on that team, and that's what we see so very often, communicates so very well, and found out some interesting things again about why Mosine has been successful this season.
Yeah, great young man. Interesting. It's not very often we get a young man in here who's a football-only guy and not playing other. Right. So I thought that was great too. Great to hear when you talk about things like how important his family is to him. It speaks very highly then of why he is so dedicated and committed and is also such a good leader. So Mosine's got a great one there. Very fortunate to have him. And obviously there's several others to make up a team and have a season like they're having this year.
And how they think. I mean, that's sometimes it's very interesting that we've had a number of the kids come on who, when we ask them about, playing in the future, they really take this seriously. Well, the easy thing is, I want to keep on playing. I want to keep on. But they're always thinking about what would be the best route forward. And we heard in there from Wyatt Harris that, he has an option of Madison, but also the option of thinking about some other areas. And again, these kids really think. And that's something that has kind of jumped out at me in talking to a number of these kids this year especially.
Yeah, and I think a message, and I'm not sure how many high school players are actually out there listening, but I think a great message that I hope most coaches are giving is if you are passionate about football, there's a place for you to play. Like every single, the great thing about football is every college from the smallest D3 all the way up, everyone's got 100 players on their roster. So regardless of your ability, if you are passionate, there's a place for you to play. But there's also nothing wrong with not playing. High school football is extremely special. You build really strong and positive relationships that, like he said, last hopefully, and most times do, last a lifetime. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with, at the end of 4 years, saying, this has been awesome. And the reality is you're not going to duplicate it when you go to college. Just college football is special in its own way, but it's a completely different animal as far as expectations and time commitment and all of those sorts of things. So I just hope that that there aren't any players out there who feel guilty about not pursuing it. You have to do what's best for you, and being a good, solid high school football player and creating great memories, regardless of the win-loss record, is something that stays with you your whole life.
Real quickly, that actually brings up a great, interesting point that you see sometimes these players that dominate at the high school level, and you say, boy, they're going to, be able to play at that next level. And then you see others that are just maybe cogs within a team. And I got one example that you coached in Jack Behrens. And when he was playing quarterback for Wausau West, you did not throw the ball very much. In fact, I remember talking to his mom at the end of the season. It was a good thing that she was so happy that he was going to get a chance to play at Ripon. And that, she was worried because he didn't pass as much because you had, obviously, Colton Gehring to hand the football off to, that she was worried that the colleges weren't going to notice and that Jack wasn't going to get the opportunities. And now, as a sophomore, I believe, he's a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken, he's the starting quarterback for Ripon. In fact, I saw last week their team defeated an undefeated team last weekend. So he's getting a great opportunity. But you're right. I mean, even if you are not the star, but if you have, the leadership or the intangibles, even along with, obviously, you're going to need some physical skills, that you just don't know what that next level entails. And that's why it's good to really look at the options, talk to those coaches, talk to the universities, and get all the information before making such a very important decision, and try not to. And again, people that go from college to college, I mean, obviously things happen, but that's hard as well. I mean, it's not easy to make those right decisions, is it?
No, not at all. And I told all of our athletes always, like, the first thing, and not everybody knows what they want to be when they grow up.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
so
why when I ask the question, it's like,
as a freshman in college, you don't have to know. But if you do have an idea, if you want to be an engineer, don't go play football at a school that doesn't have an engineering degree. And that's a really good example, because so few schools do have engineering as a major. But last Friday in Spash was kind of neat, because based on some positive things that have happened in the Wausau West football program, it draws attention to you, and a lot of our athletes have had the opportunity to go play at WIAC schools. So last Friday in Spash, we had two grads who are playing for UWSP who are on the sideline. And then on Saturday, UWSP was playing River Falls. And we have two players who are playing for River Falls right now. So all those guys were at the game and kind of could talk to each other. But it's kind of neat to have that connection if that's where you go. And the other thing I would say to people, if you are on that D2, D3 bubble or whatever, and you can go somewhere and far away and they'll pay you $500 a year to play D2 football, I understand that's a good feeling, and to be able to tell people you're on scholarship, that's awesome. But you'd be hard-pressed to find better football than is played in the D3 and the WIAC, and your parents and family and friends can come to just about every game on Saturday. So a lot of awesome opportunities right here in the state of Wisconsin.
Let's talk about Level 2 action. Division I, Stevens Point at Kimberly. I know you've been talking, I think we've been talking off the air. Again, very interesting matchup, as Kimberly has not been that force coming down the stretch. They had that 14-13 loss against Kaukauna. They beat Appleton North 14-0. They beat Appleton North 10-7. And then you got Stevens Point, who's been putting up some pretty good numbers offensively. We saw it. I mean, I think twice I've been a little surprised in different ways from Stevens Point. Number one, the way that they were able to force the turnovers and win, by 20 against West the first time. But I was probably more surprised last week that they put up 32 points, because that West defense is really good. So this Stevens Point offense has got potential. What do you see with this matchup?
It's extremely intriguing. Obviously, I am all Spash all the way on this one, because I want to see our conference go over and represent. I do feel like maybe Kimberly is not the state championship Kimberly that we've grown to know and see, and that
and loathe.
Yeah, well, that too. And now that I say that, this game will be 50-0.
I know.
But I don't think it is. I think the one thing Spash really brings to the table this year is the balance of their run-pass game and how they pass the ball to their running back as well in their screen game. So I think it is a nice matchup against a team in Kimberly that struggled to score some points this year as well. And we all know that the Fox Valley Association has some really good football teams. So part of the reason they struggle to score and have a loss or two is because their competition is outstanding. But I think this is a nice opportunity for Spash to go over there and see, maybe is the Wisconsin Valley Conference or Valley Football Association taking a step closer, a step forward, which does not appear to be the case in some of our other matchups. So it'd be nice for Spash to go over there and represent.
The winner of that one takes on either Chippewa Falls or Neenah. And obviously, Chippewa Falls had that big win at Hudson last week. Now they make the long trek from the western part of the state to the eastern part of the state. What Neenah did against Everest last week was impressive because the two losses Everest had earlier this year against Stevens Point and against Hortonville, they had the football in their opponent's territory in the final minutes of the game. One-score games at the time and a chance to win. That was the first time all year that anyone really blew out DC Everest. It feels like it, and again, I saw Chippewa Falls against Everest earlier this year. Did not impress me. But obviously to win at Hudson was a big win. But boy, it looks like Neenah could be a team that has the potential if they keep that offense going. And I saw Neenah play against De Pere early in the season. That offense, they really got some firepower.
They have firepower, and they're kind of like Marshfield on steroids. When you look at Marshfield in our conference, like they are a bigger, faster, stronger version of Marshfield. And not that Marshfield is a great team this year, but Marshfield's consistency with their athleticism and their strength and what they're able to do with the size school they are. And I think Neenah's kind of that over there. And I think that this 8-team sectional, they really have the opportunity to shine. I think that there's a good chance. I mean, obviously, I think that they're going to give Chippewa Falls more than they can handle. And I think they'd love another shot at Kimberly if Kimberly pulls off the Spash win.
The other part of the D1 bracket, I guess I'll pick your brain. De Pere is at Fond du Lac. De Pere got, again, I think as an 8 seed getting the city conference. And again, there's no one you can't blame the city conference for that. I mean, they play down there and they do what they do. The fact that they are maybe overseeded, that's a WIAA issue. And I get a little annoyed at people, the city conference doesn't deserve anything. Well, they're out there playing football just like everybody else. So again, don't put the blame on the city conference that De Pere as an 8 seed won last week. But they are at Fond du Lac. We saw De Pere earlier this season. Fond du Lac has been an interesting program the last couple of years. They've had their ups and their downs. And then you got Bayport, who's always so strong. But they got a tough one against number 2 seed Marquette this weekend. Friday.
I think those are actually both interesting matchups. I think that Fond du Lac's down. I don't think De Pere is great, and I think the Bayport Marquette game is kind of a marquee game. Obviously, I don't think either one of them are state championship caliber this year, but I do think we'll learn a little bit more about those two conferences as well in that game.
And I think maybe not state championship, but with the brackets the way they are, at the very least, state semifinals. And once you get that far, who knows what happens after that? Right. Division II, no area teams left. And I guess that comes down to again the VFA teams that fell. And again, I know that it's a focus here, and we're going to talk briefly about this. That we got to get better here in Central Wisconsin because nobody's slowing down to the east, are they? No. Especially the east.
No, not at all. And I hate the conversation has to happen and probably needs to happen more publicly and that sort of thing amongst the teams and the school districts and the schools in our area and the commitment we make. But when you have the conversation, also you have the potential to make it sound like you're making some excuses as well. Ultimately, what happens in this part of the state is significantly different from a value, academic value, school district value. What is placed on athletics in this neck of the woods is significantly different than what's happening in the Fox Valley. The demographics are different than what's happening in the Fox Valley, and the resources and the facilities are also much different. All excuses for certain, but to some extent, as much as I'm not always, I'm not the first person to retweet Travis Wilson. He did make an interesting comment last week when people were hammering on the Milwaukee conference schools and how awful their performance was last Friday. He made a very interesting point in saying that just about, I think, what was it, 3 or 4 multi-high school districts won games in level 1 in the entire state. And then he kind of put that list out there. There's no Appleton teams left, no Green Bay teams left, no Wausau, no Eau Claire, across the board. And I think when you come from a city of a certain size, the demographic is definitely different. Yes, and when you are the suburban schools who live on the fringe of those bigger metropolitan areas, people choose and have the resources to live there. And I think that's not to say that we don't have to do a lot of things to get better.
Division III, rematch from early in the season. Week 2, Medford went to Onalaska, put up more than 50 points in a high-scoring win. This time, Onalaska at Medford, and also an interesting game in the D3, Rice Lake at Sparta. But that Medford game, that's a scary one, to be honest with you, because, I mean, they went to Onalaska and won, but, boy, don't assume that because they're home they're going to win this second time around.
Yeah, there's a lot of season that's happened since that Week 2 matchup. And if I recall, didn't Medford get kind of beat up Week 1, and we kind of expected this game to be a blowout the other direction, and Medford went down there and really took care of business. And we don't know, kind of like Coach Sinz said about the Stratford game. Did Onalaska have 8 turnovers in that game? Was their guys ineligible or injured or whatever the case may be? Not taking anything away from Medford in their win, but one of the most intriguing level 2 matchups in my mind is to see that rematch.
We got to take a quick time out. We're going to come back, talk about the other divisions in our final segment coming up next. It's the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app.
This is Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
Could there be a better name? Auto Value Parts Stores. They aren't just about air fresheners or fuzzy dice. Auto Value Parts Stores are all about parts, auto parts, and advice. Pros who know auto parts with tons of tips when you need them the most. You want real value? Don't go to a place with a cute name. Go to Auto Value. Could there be a better name? I didn't think so. Your Auto Value Parts Store. We've got the parts, we've got the smarts.
Love your hometown? Don't miss the Devil's Advocates radio show on the road for the very first Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023.
Rudy's doing DC, baby. The rest of the week I'll be there. You know, I got some big guests lined up.
And you'll have to tune in for those very special guests live from Washington, D.C. this Wednesday and Thursday. Catch the broadcast starting at 4.
Road trip with the Devil's Advocates Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023 on your local Civic Media radio station and the app. You're listening to Bull Falls Radio, WXCO.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Continuing to look ahead to Level 2 high school football playoff action. Division 4, we talked a little bit about it with Wyatt Harris as the Mosine Indians will play host to Somerset. And also he mentioned that St. Croix Central, the number 1 seed in that bracket, takes on Baldwin Woodville. But Mosine and Somerset, and you said Somerset's got a good pedigree in terms of successful football, so obviously this has been around in recent years. Mosine's had trouble with it. Even last year, they lost at home in the second round. Again, and I think Wyatt Harris had the perfect attitude about it. They're not overlooking anybody now that we get into level 2, because you get to level 2, everybody's shown that they can win at this level.
Yeah, Coach Larson won several, if not 4 state championships at Somerset. I have no idea how good they are this year, but a team like that knows how to travel and knows how to win playoff football games.
Also, we got in Division 5, I think one of the great games that people here in central Wisconsin are keeping an eye on, Wittenberg, Brunelwood, and Amherst. And Whitburn, of course, went to Amherst in the regular season, and they were able to pull out a win as they had a goal line stand, a 1-yard line on the final play of the game, and able to win 27-22. Whitburn, as we talked about, almost a semi-bye in the first round of the playoffs, and Amherst struggled a little bit. And again, how many times have we seen that, though, where one team just cruises through a first-round game, whether it's at the NFL level or at the high school level, and then the other team struggles? Sometimes people say that you have to find a way to win when you're not quite there. You have to make sure you advance, because maybe not every night you're going to be 100% on top of your game, and that could be the case for a team like Amherst, who has also a great winning pedigree. But for Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, they have been so good this season, it feels like that's going to be a tough one for Amherst.
Well, and just looking at this one makes me nervous for Wittenberg, too. The fact that they beat them at Amherst and this one's at home, I mean, the table is just set for what should be a really good football game no matter what. I mean, Wittenberg's rolling, generally speaking, but in this game, it was nip and tuck, and Amherst could, like you said, Amherst could have very easily won it. They're on the road. They're the underdog. It would make me nervous.
Another D5 game that's, again, a team that just seems like they've been struggling a bit is Colby. They had that great start. Then they got shut out by Edgar. They finished the regular season losing to Auburndale. And then last week, they barely were able to win in a 1-8 game that ended up going to the final seconds. And this week, they take on St. Croix Falls. But it just feels like Colby has been scuffling just a little bit lately.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on it real briefly when we were doing the summaries earlier. Is it possible that Edgar's that much better than everybody, and that maybe those teams aren't as strong as maybe their record showed, and it's kind of getting exposed a little bit in the playoffs?
And Stanley Boyd, I think this is a game where they go on the road against Northwestern. I think the Stanley Boyd team has the potential. They played in a very tough Clover Belt conference. I know, talking to Coach Winkler from Marathon, who is a Stanley Boyd guy himself, but they saw them early in the season and said, really fast. I think of a road game where a team could step up, Stanley Boyd has that potential.
And I think Stanley Boyd probably has even a slightly better pedigree than Northwestern, but Northwestern has a pretty decent record as far as making it level 2, level 3 good. So this should be a really good football game.
Division 6, boy, this is a massive game. Stratford, again, Mondovi's probably saying, we'd rather be going to Auburndale. I know it probably shouldn't say this out loud, but Auburndale 1 seed, Stratford 2, Mondovi 3. Mondovi tied Regis for the conference championship in the Clover Belt. They struggled actually last week. They won 34-30, I think, over Bonduelle. So they had a little bit of a struggle last week, but still, they beat Regis during the regular season. They have two 1,100-yard rushers. Yeah, they're 9-1. Stratford's 9-1. Boy, this one has the makings of a massive matchup. And apparently, you said this game's moved to Marshfield.
Yeah, that's what Nathan Delaney, the AD at Marshfield, was saying today, is that Stratford was looking to come over and practice tonight.
Well, that's where they won their state tournament games last year.
Yeah. And you had said Mondovi probably doesn't have the matchup. I can't imagine Stratford's tickled pink about it either. And again, this geographical group of 8 is crazy to me. The fact that Mondovi went all that distance that's a heck of a drive for them too.
And then Coleman is number 5 seed. They won on the road last week, and it did not surprise me a bit, because Coleman always seems to me, they're tough. I mean, that's a wrestling program that really uses it for football as well. Yeah. They traveled to Auburndale, and Auburndale survived Marathon last week. This is not going to be an easy game for Auburndale. That Coleman team, you're going to have to strap on the helmet. They're going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, and I think this has the potential to kind of potentially be lopsided one way or the other. Like, I feel like Coleman's battle-tested come in, but I also feel like Auburndale, what they are capable of doing on offense, if they could put it together, maybe they're ready to break out too.
D7, Regis at Edgar. We've talked with Coach Jerry Sinz in our first segment. Obviously, Regis took it to Edgar, and as the coach said, I think he remembers that. I mean, it's never easy when you have that last game where you give up 50 or more points in a game. But this year in Edgar, on the grass, a wet grass, a very muddy grass, I would assume, and a Regis team that's not the same level. As the coach said, not even in terms of seniors. What do you think?
I think that Coach Sinz has been thinking about this one for a while. That was the impression I got from him tonight. And I think if I'm, obviously it should be a great game, historic matchup, but I feel like Edgar's been thinking about this one for a long time, and he might be ready to not only win, but win this one big.
That'd be interesting. Again, and you talk about home field advantage, being on that grass, Edgar's used to it. Regis, they play on the turf at Carson Park. It's not going to be easy to make that transition. And, of course, with the way they run their offense, sometimes it can be a little dangerous.
Yeah. In addition to the rain, Coach Sinz might also have the sprinklers going, too. We'll see.
Exactly right. Really, an 8-player, our area team in Newman Catholic is out, but I think a Thorpe-Gilman game is going to be a lot of fun. They played in the regular season. It was a closer game than really the score indicated. And this year, it's actually interesting. The last couple of years, Newman was so dominant. It's much more open in the 8-player game. And I think for the 8-player game, to have some exciting games coming down the stretch will help 8-player football, I think, here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and not necessarily our area, but I kind of like the Three Lakes Florence matchup.
You know them, yeah.
Well, I know them, and that Newman kind of played both of them
yes,
early
they did.
on, and
Week
they
1
played
and 2.
each other early on, so be interesting to see if a team can come from that neck of the woods.
That's right. So, again, lots of interesting games on Friday night. Hopefully all the rain will be pushed out by that point. Boy, last Friday, what a beautiful night, huh?
Spoiled.
Hey, we're going to enjoy the games. We're going to be back next week. Thanks again to our guests tonight, Jerry Sinz, the head football coach at Edgar, and Wyatt Harris, the senior from Mosine. So have fun on Friday. We'll talk
Level
about next
2.
week. Yep. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a game to broadcast, so I got to watch a game.
The nice thing about watching from home, you can watch 2 or 3 at
There
one
you
time.
go. We'll be back next week for the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
Your station for local news, talk, and sports. Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM WXCO. The Civic Media Network of radio stations across Wisconsin. It's your hometown radio. Refreshed. Bull Falls Radio, 1230 AM and 98.9 FM WXCO programming is broadcast from the Bug Tussle Studios. Bug Tussle, keeping you connected to the world around you.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn.